My name is Sebastian Lennartson, and I am the Nordic commercial trainer for Microsoft. And as always, we team up with our friends at Also to deliver these webinar series that goes throughout the fall and spring. Today's topic is around Office apps and how we can benefit from all the type of apps that are included in our Office suite. Because normally what we do is that we just think of Office as the traditional Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. We are going to look into those apps, but we're also going to look into some other apps, as well as seeing what is new and what's the latest and greatest in the traditional apps that we use in our everyday work life, and how we, in the best possible way, can transmit and tell our customers about the benefits from the Microsoft Office apps and the Office solutions that we do have. So, without further ado, we are going to look into exactly what is going on and what is our customers out there facing. As we all know, we are constantly developing. We are constantly evolving new products and new solutions to meet the demands of the market. This means that we cannot always support the traditional solutions that we once offered. We do need to give some sort of refresh, and we need to focus on the future and not the past. So what a lot of customers out there are experiencing is, of course, that some of their products may be facing or have faced an end of support. For example, we do see that we in beginning of 2020, we stopped supporting, or we did what we call an end of life of Windows 7, which of course boosted the migration to Windows 10. And this is seen as a really important step towards being on a platform that really has the secure business needs that companies out there do actually need to be compliant and be following the different regulations that they have to comply to. This year, we had end of support of Office 2010, which of course is interesting as today's topic is Office apps. So there is a chance that you will have customers out there who are on Office 10 and they are business users. What does this end of support actually mean for them? Well, in all essence, it means that they are putting their data at risk, because when the end of support comes, it means that we do not longer send out security patches and updates to face the latest threats. So in all essence, they actually in the long term will not be complying to GDPR and other data regulations if they store sensitive business data and customer data on these kind of solutions. So make sure that if you have a customer out there using Office 2010, make sure to tell them about the risks that this actually includes. We also have, for example, Skype for Business Online, which is facing an end of support in 2021. I think it is the 31st of July. So that's also a good thing to keep in mind when we talk about Office with our customers, because for many out there, Office is basically Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, and they don't really realize that there has been a lot of development on these apps. So for a customer coming from Office 2010, they will of course resemble the Office apps that they get in their new Office 2019 or Microsoft 365 package, but there has been a lot of great features added to them, making them more intuitive and more easy to use, and in the end, making the employee and the companies achieve more by using the modern and best solutions available out there. So when we talk about Office, it's always important to keep in mind that it is the attached to product, which is one of the biggest opportunities we have to sell Office. So whenever a customer comes in and inquires about a computer or inquires about new software, do keep in mind that if they're migrating from Windows 7 to Windows 10 Pro, they will not be able to use their legacy Office suite, which they had for a Windows 7 solution. They will need to upgrade, because with Windows 10 Pro, the regulations are as such that you can only use Microsoft 365 Business Standard, you can only use Office 2016, Office 2019, those kind of solutions that are still not end of life are available for Windows 10 Pro. And this is not us trying to be mean, but it is a consequence of the fact that we need to provide a safe solution for our users out there. So therefore, do keep in mind that customers have to attach the right Office when they buy a new PC or a new OS. And as we can see here, it's actually mainly done in the same channel as they buy their PC. And if we look to the reasons to why they buy Office, it is mainly because they actually buy a new PC. So this goes great along with the refresh concept that we're of course driving, because we want our users out there to be on the latest and greatest type of PCs. But it's also important to keep in mind that a lot of users out there just want to upgrade their Office for an existing PC. And why is the statistics around which channel they buy their Office from? Why is this important? Well, it's important out of multiple reasons, because we know that you out there who are attending today's webinar, you are the best advisor for your customer. And let's say a scenario where they do not buy Office from you, which is a 30% chance. Well, in those 30%, there is a good chance that this will lead to mislicensing. That is, customers buying a type of Office that does not suit their business needs. And for us, that is not something that we want, and we don't want your customers to be suffering from this as well, because it means that they will not get the productivity and all of the efficiency that they would have from the right Office package. But from your point of view, it's also important because of customer relations, their experience with the Office and Microsoft suite, but mainly not to lose sales to competitors. It's also important to know that there are Office out there that are actually pirate copies of real authentic Office. So by making sure that we always discuss Office when we talk about PC and when we talk about Windows with our customers, we make sure that we avoid mislicensing, and we avoid that the customer actually end up buying a fake Office, because it's not super common, but it's not uncommon that there actually are a few Office licenses out there when you Google it, and the prices are basically half the price of where they should be segmented. This is probably the case of something being too good to be true by not being authentic real Office. So make sure that you discuss Office with your customers. The offer that we have, of course, when we look to the private side of business, is that we have both perpetual and annual subscriptions. So for the personal user, we have a lot of different offices, which we call, for example, Office 365 Business Personal, and we have Home. We also have Home and Business. But then we have the Business Premium, which is an annual subscription. What a lot of users out there actually notice is the fact that Home and Business Premium has a lot of the shared features, but Home and Business or Home and Student actually has pretty many of them as well. So a common misconception out there, which we're going to look into today, is actually Home and Student and Home and Business the same? But we're going to keep that for now and look into that in a few coming slides. And when we look on the Microsoft 365 side of business, we do have the same annual subscription and the perpetual licenses. And as many of you have noticed, Microsoft 365 has replaced Office 365 because it's not only about rebranding Office by calling it Microsoft 365, it's about presenting a new way of thinking. So Microsoft 365 is no longer the old same subscription where you will have a new version coming out in 2 years' time. We see Microsoft 365 as a productivity cloud where we constantly update the license so that you won't have to buy a new license, or there will be a later version coming. There won't be a Microsoft 365 2, but we will stay within the Microsoft 365 family and just update that to make sure that it is the best productivity suite to offer to our business users out there. Because what we want to do is make sure that our business users are using the left side of this slide. We want them to be on the business license. And it's not only about us thinking that this is a framework we want to work towards, but it's also about the users out there staying compliant and staying within the regulatory and making sure that they protect their business data and also benefit the most from the right type of business solutions. So today will be all about Microsoft 365 Business Standard and Office 2019 Home and Business. These two can be seen as a complement to each other, because many may think that, yeah, it's a way of getting business. One is a subscription and one is a one-time payment. But there are a few differences more to it, which we will touch base on today. Because if you get a Microsoft 365, it's easy to think that the only thing you've done differently from getting Office 2019 is that you've spread out the cost. That's not quite the case. Office 2019 is a great solution. It is the perfect solution for the type of business user who wants to have the standard Office apps, who needs the basic apps and who does not want the cloud solutions. Perhaps it's due to regulations and having to storage all their data on premises, or perhaps it's because they are not fully ready to migrate towards a semi-cloud solutions. But if you are ready and want to take the step, we do offer Microsoft 365 Business Standard. And with Microsoft 365 Business Standard, it's not only about breaking it down to a perpetual license, it's about creating a productivity suite which will never go out of fashion and out of time. So with Microsoft 365 Business Standard, you make sure that the users are on the right type of solution, which will not be end of life in 2 or 5 or 10 years time, but constantly updated just to make sure so that they can focus on creating more business. So what you actually get, of course, is the premium Office apps. You also get Outlook and Publisher and Access. And then you have the type of business apps such as Sway and Booking, which we'll look into in a bit. And then the OneDrive, the SharePoint, the Exchange, the semi-cloud-based apps, which are really important in being efficient from anywhere and really taking the step towards the cloud. So Office 365 or Microsoft 365, it works on multiple units. And this is also really important to remember when talking to customers, the fact that it's not only supposed to work on your computer, but it's supposed to be a productivity suite which you can use from whatever device you prefer. Because in the perfect world, in the perfect security, you cannot leave any endpoint unsecure. You have to protect everything and be able to work from your phone, from your computer, or from your iPad, but still doing it in a safe environment. So therefore, Microsoft 365, of course, can be used on multiple units, so you can install it wherever you want to work from. And if you want to, you could also just use it from an online perspective via SharePoint, making sure that no matter where in the world you are, and no matter if or you did not bring your device, you can still keep on working and keep that momentum, which is really important, and we've really seen a huge need of in 2020. So the difference with Office 2019, as you can see here, is the fact that you only get the Office apps. It's not seen as a downgraded version of the Office apps. They're still very productive. You still have a lot of features which you would not get in Office 2010. For example, you have the upgraded editor, which makes sure that it helps you to be the best speller and best writer you could. And of course, you also get a free version of Microsoft Teams, but you do not get the typical Teams solution which integrates fully, which we'll touch base on later. But for the type of user which only has a core business need, which only needs to be on a single device, writing on a Word or a PowerPoint or Excel, but does not want the cloud collaborative measures, or due to regulations, internal or external, they have to be on premises and on their unit alone. For example, the police authority in many cases are running Office, Home and Business 2019 due to their regulations and not being able to have their data sent to the cloud. So let's look into the actual Office apps. The first one that I want to suggest you pitch to your users the next time you speak to them is Sway. Because Sway is a fantastic app, which is all included in Microsoft 365 Business Standard. What Sway does for you is that it helps you to create pitches and presentations as if it is a homepage. So normally what you do when you want to present something to somebody, a customer outside or inside of your organization, you just share them a one-pager from PowerPoint. This is, of course, a really easy and really overseeable way to transmit information externally or internally. But with Sway, it's even easier. So what you do is that you just upload the information that you want to be included on your Sway, and Sway automatically organizes it for you. The whole presentation is then stored directly on Sway and can be shared via Sway. So it means that you can control who is able to see this information. It's a great tool to make sure that you're still compliant when you share information to external parties, because they cannot, without your consent, share it further. So it's for their view only, and you still have control of your data, even though you're sharing it to an external partner. But if, however, you want to use PowerPoint, which is an amazing collaborative tool, we do have some really nice new features that I'm going to talk about. First and foremost, we of course have the type of designer ideas, which helps you to create really nice presentations in just seconds. Because I think we've all been there. We have an upcoming meeting in 5 minutes and we haven't quite prepared. Perhaps we've even forgot the fact that we're supposed to present the latest sales figures. And by using Designer, we just make sure that we don't have to spend 30 minutes to make sense of the data that we're presenting. Designer will help you do it immediately. So it's a really nice tool, and if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend you try it as soon as possible. To summarize, PowerPoint 2019 has got Zoom capabilities, which helps you if you're perhaps in the more graphic area of business. It helps you or your customers to create presentations which really pops. It also has the really simple but really cool feature of morphing between different slides, which just creates a more vivid and more intriguing presentation to your customers. And then, of course, you do have the different icons, you have the stock images, and a lot of other neat features, which really helps you to put together a presentation which looks amazing. If we look to Excel, on the other hand, it's easy to think of Excel as the same Excel that we've always been using, and in many cases, it is. But we want Excel to help you achieve more, because Excel is an extremely powerful tool. But for those of our customers out there who are not Excel professionals, it is quite hard to grasp, understand, and make data easy. But if you want to help your customers, you can always suggest them to start using the ideas button. It has the symbol of a lightning, and it is what you're viewing right now. Idea helps you to just tell Excel what it is that you want help with, and Excel will identify the number for you. It can put together a pivot table for you, and it can help you sort in big sheets or small sheets, no matter what it is, making sure that you're more efficient and that you don't have to be a specialist at Excel for you to be able to use the tool. So it's a really nice way of making sure that our customers out there can use Excel even more efficient than ever before. And this is what exactly is new in Excel 2019. You do have the funnel charts, 2D maps and timelines. These are great for making sure that you can visualize the information that you want to show to customers. We have of course, the ability to publish your Excel to a Power BI, but also to download from Power BI to Excel, so that you can make sure that you make the most out of your data and get the best type of insights from the data, and your customer can do the same without actually being that good at Excel. And then finally, we have Word and what's new in Word. And as I spoke about before, Word is, of course, as all the other apps, resemblant of the Word that we've always been using. But in Office 2019 and Microsoft 365 Business Standard, you do have the word suggestions. So Word always helps you to be more efficient. It helps you to find the type of words that you might really mean, but you've chosen to use another word. It helps you to be more precise, more clear in your communication, and by doing so, you can of course get your message out better to your customers, and your customer can transmit their message out to their customers better. So Word is now even smarter. And with Editor, it's really simple to translate, to get suggestions, or whatever it might be, directly without leaving Word. An editor can also be added to your browser and to many other tools in your Windows software to make sure that you get the suggestions, the spell check, everything you might need across all your Windows tool. So that's basically Word, but you also have the type of learning tools such as captions, which helps you to write captions for pictures and makes it more accessible for people who have different accessibility restrictions when taking a part of a document. It also has the back theme as all of our Microsoft 365 suite, which makes it easier to see in, for example, bad lighting, but also better for your eyes by reducing blue light. The final thing I want to talk about is booking. Booking is one of those tools that is included in Microsoft 365 Business Standard, but is deeply underused. Bookings is the type of tool that I recommend all of our partners to talk to their customers with. Because what Bookings actually does is that it helps our customer or your customer to set up a booking page if they are in a business providing a service. Normally what you do if you, for example, is a carpenter, is that you offer your customers your email so that they can contact you, and then together you'll email back and forth finding a time that suits both. Bookings, which is included in Microsoft 365, and I'm gonna stretch it one more time because it is really, really good value for our SMB customers out there. So it's included, and what Bookings does is that it helps us to create a landing page where our customers book the service they need immediately from a schedule where you also can have mapped out prices. So for example, if you're a carpenter, you will, instead of emailing back and forth, you will just link to your bookings. Either you send the customer a link via email, or you could link to your Facebook page or wherever it might be, where you link to your bookings. So bookings is semi-integrated to other apps so that you just link to bookings, they get the window open, and they can find which time you're available, at what cost, and then they just book the time that suits them. So it's a great tool to reduce the time spent on administration for SMB customers, because in all essence, it is so much easier for customers to book you than for you to email back and forth finding a time that suits. So I highly recommend that you pitch bookings the next time you talk to any customers out there who are in a business where they provide a service. Because if they are, then booking provides a great value and is really the unique selling point that you could need to get the upsell to Microsoft 365 Business Standard from, for example, Office 2016 or 2019, wherever it might be. So the differences here, of course, is that Microsoft 365 Business Standard is a solution which is built upon semi-cloud collaborative tools. It is of great value for customers who doesn't have to think about what will happen next year or in 3 years' time, but they can instead rest assured knowing that they have the best solution for their business. Office Home and Business, on the other hand, as I mentioned, is a really good solution for customers who may have different regulations, internal or external, where they therefore have to limit how much of their data, or if any data, can be sent to the cloud. So Office Home and Business is not only about trying to offer a smaller package of Office apps, but it is helping our customers out there to comply to different rules that they might have. But it's also, as a step on the journey towards a semi-cloud solution, we have to acknowledge the fact that not all customers are cloud ready. Therefore, by offering Office Home and Business 2019 as a complement to Microsoft 365 Business Standard is the best possible solution. So we make sure that we are with them on all steps of the journey. The next part of the presentation is going to be around the biggest and most commonly used Office apps of them all in 2020 and 2021. It is pretty self-explanatory why Microsoft Teams has become one of the most discussed Office and Microsoft products out there. With Microsoft Teams, we have created a collaborative tool where we collect not only the meeting alone. We do not only provide a meeting platform. Skype for Business could be seen as more of a traditional meeting platform, where the sole purpose is that you video conference and call each other to discuss different topics, and then you continue your collaboration elsewhere. A pretty traditional scenario is that you email back and forth prior to the meeting. You have the meeting itself, and then you go back to emailing back and forth and calling each other on the phone, perhaps. With Microsoft Teams, we are trying to change that. Microsoft Teams is all about collaborating. We are not trying to set up a tool where you can just call each other, but we are trying to set up an intranet where you can collaborate with whomever across organizations, whenever, in a more streamlined way. So what we're seeing, of course, in 2020 is a huge uprise in Microsoft Teams users. We have around 75 million daily users, and in a single day, we are around 200 million meeting participants. The amount of Teams meeting minutes generated is 4.1 billion, and these stats are October stats. So there are an impressive amount of meetings taking place. And meetings are great. They're very important for meeting the and harvesting all of the collaborative knowledge that you get. But there are also issues with meetings. When we are talking about meetings, it's not automatically effective. So with Teams, we of course want to provide some kind of countermeasure, because what we're seeing is the fact that 80% of leaders actually say that there's a lack of collaboration or ineffective communication, which can be seen as an ineffective collaboration. And that is one of the top failure for their workplace and not harvesting all of their knowledge and all of their potential that is possible. So what we're also seeing is a lot of leaders that are moving away from hierarchy to team-based working to achieve success. But it is a journey and it does take time, but we're seeing a lot of potential here. And that is also where teams come in as a great complement to all of this. The final stat that I want to share with you is the fact that 45% of the leaders have or implemented a web-based collaboration solution. And these stats are 2019. So what we're seeing now is, of course, a huge migration to Teams in a very rapid time. Because Microsoft Teams is for the whole company. Many do think of Teams as an app used for back office alone, if you're in the business of having both first line and back office workers. But it is about helping and boosting teams across all departments in an organization. And there is a lot of intelligent tools that helps you when working within Teams. So Teams, for example, implements automatically with your favorite Office apps, but also thousands of non-Microsoft apps, that is third-party apps. And you can actually regulate yourself what type of apps you would like added to Teams. But most importantly, Teams is safe. Teams is all about complying to all regulations that are applicable. We do not want to risk our data, our customers' data, and your data whilst being on Teams. So therefore, we take huge measures, making sure that Teams still fits within the safe ecosystem that Microsoft stand for and provide. And of course, it is applicable in 53 languages, and you could use features such as subtitles in the same languages, making sure that if you are working or having a webinar towards a bigger audience, you can make sure that no matter what language they have as mother tongue, they can understand what the topic is, and you can still be on your native language. So it's really impressive features that you can use with Teams. Teams is also great for companies because it offers a lot of attached devices. For example, you do have the type of shared devices, which helps companies in creating the semi-distantiated work that we believe to be the future when the COVID-19 situation is over. So we are seeing that we will not meet in the same way that we used to do. We will meet again, and we will be able to collaborate in a more timely and easier way than we did in 2020. But we need to acknowledge that there might still be a lot of effects from COVID, which prevents us from meetings as we did in 2019 and prior. So by having these type of shared devices paired up with your teams, you make sure that you have the collaborative tool that you need to be not on-prem and not completely off-prem. So you can have some employees that are in one meeting room, but you also have some employees that are joining from distance, because that flexibility will be key when readapting after the COVID-19 situation. So what does Team do so great? Well, it offers meetings and callings, and it offers them towards anyone across organizations. So it's really simple. No matter who you're collaborating with, you can always rest assured that Team has you covered. And there might be situations where someone in the meeting has bad internet connectivity or is at a place where they have slim to no internet connectivity. Then it's also one of the best features with Teams, the fact that you can always dial in to the meeting. So you can combine traditional phone calls with a Teams meeting, making sure that anyone can participate in a meeting. And no matter on what device you are on, or no matter where you're calling in from, we make sure that Teams offers a great experience for all users. So it's not only about being on your computer and calling each other or chatting, but it's across all type of devices, making sure that you, if, for example, you're in a situation where your computer dies mid-presentation, and this, speaking from my own experience, what you can do then is that you call into the meeting again from your mobile phone, and you present. Do you have the files on your phone? Well, of course you don't. You have them on OneDrive because everything is on your 1 TB of OneDrive. So it automatically recognizes latest apps or latest files that you used. So by clicking share in Teams, it automatically shows you, okay, what's the latest PowerPoint presentations you used? Probably the one you showed during the meeting prior to the crash was the one that you latest used. So therefore, it's really simple to get back into the presentation and continue the momentum that you have without even losing 5 minutes. So Teams is a really nice collaborative tool, making sure that you never lose speed in what you do. And that is because it fully integrates with the Microsoft 365 solution. So you have everything in the cloud collaborative tool that we are offering. But it's also about the security. So when you have a meeting on Teams, you can always rest assured that it is secure. If you share something on Teams with the right regulations, you can always rest assured that it stays within the channel. So giving you the power and possibility to control how you share information is, of course, some of the most important aspects of Teams. But it's also, as I mentioned before, the fact that you can add the type of apps, your own apps or your favorite Office apps to Microsoft Teams. So for example, you can always manage the type of tabs that you would like. You could also add bots if you'd like that. And the type of modules and notifications and all the things that you need to be as creative and as collaborative as possible. From a backend perspective, you could also add Azure, Microsoft Graph, your SharePoint and Power Apps and Flow, such things that help you to control the ecosystem of your organization. So Teams is not only a powerful collaborative tool, but it is the whole suite where you can add all the extension and all the type of apps that you would like. For example, a great scenario and a real best practice in adding third-party apps is adding Adobe Sign. Adobe Sign helps you to sign documents from wherever. So for example, if you are making a deal with a partner, you could use Adobe Sign as an app for your Microsoft Teams, which helps you to send out without even leaving Teams. You can send out a request to sign the document via Adobe Sign, which is a legally binding then signature. So making sure that you can close deals without even leaving the Teams ecosystem and without having to use paid third-party apps or whatever it might be. So Teams really strong and really good way of being more collaborative and making sure that it all integrates. Because talking about integration, this is exactly how Team would work in the perfect scenario. So you can add, for example, Flow to make sure that you get the request from your organization and the type of what's it called, streamlining processes, so that you can automate workflow with Flow in your organization. So make sure that your customers are aware of this when discussing Microsoft 365, because it's easy to just discuss it as the typical Office apps or as a Office suite. But of course, as we know now, it is so much more than that. But let's give a situation where a customer actually has to build something else. There might not be a third party or a Microsoft app that meets their need. With Microsoft Teams, you could actually just add an extension which enables you to build custom apps with the Power App extension immediately in Teams. This makes sure that you can add whatever you might need to your Teams channel. And from our perspective, we will of course run our background check, making sure that there's no malware or anything else integrated into the app, but it is totally up to the end users or the customer what type of apps they want to add. As long as they're safe and sound, which we will rigorously check, we allow them to implement whatever they might need. And with Power BI, with Power BI, you can get the overview from your data, if it's from Excel, or if it's from a third-party resource, wherever it might be, just add it to Power BI, and then with the integration to Teams, you do not even have to leave the collaborative tool to view data and get the right insights. So make sure that your customers are on Microsoft Teams, because it is the best solutions for them out there. And it's not only about chatting and calling for today's meeting. And with Teams, I also want to take time to talk about one of the latest ads that we did to Teams. We have, of course, implemented the Breakout Rooms. And Breakout Rooms is, of course, something that was very high on demand in 2020, because we need to be able to have bigger and smaller team meetings within the meeting. So what you normally would do is that either pre-hand to the meeting, you would assign different people to different rooms if you know what type of participants should be in a room. You could also do it amidst meeting, where you just assign different people to different rooms, or in a situation where you just want to divide people into groups, but with less significance in what room they end up, you could just automatically assign the people to breakout rooms. So really good feature where you make sure that you reach out to all of your people in the organization and send them out immediately. So great, breakout rooms is great for those kind of ways of doing business. Teams is all about streamlining, and it's all about adding the type of apps that you might need. It's about connecting your employees on a single platform, making sure that you get the type of business critical data, insights, and collaboration all in one place in a safe environment. So that is what Teams is all about. And of course, you could also share immediately from Outlook to Teams. So all of these features make sure that you have the insights prior, during, or after the meeting, making sure that collaboration is not done via meetings on Skype and then emailing back and forth, but instead done as an overall process where you do not send your PowerPoint presentation to one another, edit, and then send it back, but instead you upload it to Teams so that everyone can take a part of the update in real time as they are happening, and you know that you are always updating on the latest version. So in conclusion, it starts, of course, with window, because as I told you, attach is the biggest movement towards getting a upgraded Office license. So whenever somebody has an inquiry about Windows, if it is about upgrading from Windows 7, Windows 8, or whatever it might be, make sure that you always discuss what type of device are they on, but most importantly, what type of Office or Microsoft 365 solution should we attach. And as we all know, there are two main ways of getting your Microsoft 365 Business Standard license. It is either via the electronic submitted code or the physical product packaging. With the electronic code or the physical product package, you actually get the exact same thing. The only difference is between how they are transmitted. With the ESD, you only send them the email, automatically generated code, and they are up and running within minutes. With the physical product packaging, you have to send out the SKU itself. It is a box. When they open the box, they find a code which they enter. There are no longer any CDs or anything like that. You only get a website and a code to enter, and from there you download the Microsoft 365 suite. So make sure that your customer has the solution that fits them. And of course, it is the ESD that we are pushing for, because it is a much more streamlined way of sending out and distributing a license. We do not have to produce any packages, which will be discarded anyway. So we make sure that we actually save a lot of forest whilst doing so. But it's also about usability and transferability. So for example, if you're sending 50 licenses to an IT pro, then he on his hand has to send them out to each of the recipients. But with the ESD, you can just send all of the licenses, and then the IT pro can just forward the emails. So a whole lot easier to make sure that the companies and our customers get up and running faster than ever. And we've been saying it, as I mentioned, with attach, with everything. We've been saying it for years that every device needs Microsoft Office, because with Office, you complete the circle in terms of collaboration. But even though we've been talking about it so many times, these are the hardcore stats of the market. Half of all customers don't know that their Microsoft 365 subscription can be used on multiple units. And here, of course, we have a huge potential in talking to our customers about this, because when talking about small and medium businesses, we might have someone who is a single person firm or a family owned firm, where they could potentially benefit from having the Microsoft 365 subscription on their personal computer as well, giving them extra value so that they can be, they don't have to have one license for home use and one license for work use, but instead one license across all of their devices, no matter if it's a business device or if it's their iPad, which mainly rests at home on the couch. The other stat is the fact that 61% of all customers don't know that Microsoft 365 includes 1 terabyte of cloud storage via OneDrive. And this is, of course, also super important to talk with our customers about. Make sure that they know what they get when they buy Microsoft 365 Business Standard. So finally, we might hear this when talking to customers out there, that home and student version is the same thing, but cheaper. And as I mentioned in the beginning, a lot of business users are mislicensing with Microsoft 365 home and student, but it is not the same thing, but cheaper. Home and student is created for students who have the minimum use of collaborative tools. We are talking people who doesn't have to stay compliant to GDPR. They of course want to collaborate. They of course want to use Word. They of course want to use PowerPoint, but they are not doing it in a business environment. And to make sure that the license is not unnecessarily expensive for students, which are of course not the most price or which is a price sensitive target group, we make sure that we do not have the same rigorous safety standards as we do on a Microsoft 365 business standard. So if you have people out there who are mislicensing with home and student, make sure to discuss with them and make sure to explain the fact that they are perhaps not complying to GDPR and other regulations by using home and student on their work PC. And if you thought this was interesting and want to know more, you can always go to Expert Zone. Expert Zone is a great tool to learn more about Microsoft products, making sure that you get the right information to take the right business decisions. With Expert Zone, we've collected all type of information regarding Microsoft products, which are applicable on our market. So if you read something on Expert Zone, you can rest assured that it applies to the SMB segment and it applies to the Nordic markets and the Nordic region as a whole. This helps you not to avoid getting old information which might have been changed, or getting some information from a shady blog post which might apply to a different region or might in all essence just not be correct. So learn more on Expert Zone, and you should be able to click the links immediately in the window, depending on what type of device you are on. But most often you can just click the links as you're seeing them on the screen. And with that being said, we are reaching the final slide of today, which is a thank you for attending today's webinar. I hope you found it insightful, and I hope I will see you in the upcoming webinar, which is on March 16th. And also, if you want to scan the QR and give me some feedback, I'd love that. But other than that, thank you for attending today's webinar, and I wish you a great end of Tuesday afternoon. Thank you.